Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to episode 48 of The Angry Chicken, a podcast about Hearthstone. I am Garrett Weinzierl, and I'm joined, as always, by the lovely Miss Jocelyn Moffat.
Hello,
welcome
Garrett.
her. I command you to welcome her.
Hi.
I'm in a
I was
weird
like,
mood
who are you
tonight.
commanding? There's only us.
And the people listening out there, and are you aware? You're aware people listen to this, right? Do you just show up every week
it just sounded
to
so
talk
funny.
into the void?
There's going to actually be no feedback of people welcoming me. If there is, it's going to be in the chat room like 2 minutes from now, which is just weird.
Hey, the stalker outside my window gives us a loud applause every Monday night.
I thought you were going to say outside my window, and I was like, crap.
Oh, well, you just moved, so that's a resourceful stalker. He's really
That would
dedicated.
be intense.
He's dedicated to his craft because you haven't been to that location very long.
Yeah, no, like 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah. No, I'm in a funky mood tonight. I did not get enough sleep over the weekend. My brain's a little fried. I was moshing in my chair to our intro music.
It's going to be one of those shows.
Alone in my office. Yeah, I'd like to keep it real comfortable and professional on the Angry Chicken. That's what I like to do. You'll notice the lack of voice is Mr. Willie Dills Gregory. He is off watching his mighty Giants hopefully slay some fools in the playoffs at the moment. So he will not be joining us this evening. But we have Jocelyn. You have myself.
Hooray.
Deal with it. There's just so much going on in Hearthstone right now. A lot to talk about. And then I have personal stuff I'm going to have to fight talking about all night. So I decided to just make it the strategy segment.
Scandal.
No scandal. I just played in a very long and large Magic the Gathering tournament this past weekend. And I feel like I learned a lot about competitive card games. So I'm gonna take control of the strategy segment this week and talk to you guys about what I learned at my first Grand Prix that can be used in Hearthstone. Obviously, I learned a lot about Magic, but that's not what this show is about. So we're going to talk about...
Are you sure? Because you talk about it a lot.
Can't do this show in a bubble, Jocelyn. I can't pretend I've never played it.
I know, I
can't pretend I've never played. Just like I can't pretend that I've never watched StarCraft esports when I compare Hearthstone esports to StarCraft esports.
Fair enough.
It happens, man. It happens. And just like I can't pretend that I don't have to make a Star Wars reference every single time one pops into my head, regardless of what subject we're currently discussing.
It's always Star Wars.
It is always Star Wars. And there was a player named Death Star playing a lot of Hearthstone games on stream today. So I feel some coming tonight. Anyways, before we get into the main show, we wanted to announce the winners of our Lost Legacy giveaway. This is the new card game from Alderac Entertainment. I also worked on it, so shameless self-promotion there. But we had 6 copies to give away. We gave away 3 copies to those of you on Twitter who tweeted at TAC Podcast with the hashtag Lost Legacy, and we gave 3 away to patrons of the Angry Chicken over at patreon.com/TAC. So the winners are as follows. From Twitter, big congratulations to @undead_on_XBL for your not easy to say name, but you did win a copy of Lost Legacy, so congrats. Congrats to @Brian Labarada, who tweets at me quite often, so I was happy to see a name I recognize. Congrats to you, dude. And congrats to @WowPhilosopher, who I also recognize. So congrats to those 3. You've all won copies of Lost Legacy. I'll be contacting you shortly from one of the Twitter accounts to get your address, so pay attention. Also to the patrons, congratulations to Daniel H., Ivan S., and Ken W. Be on the lookout for messages from the Angry Chicken Patreon for your addresses as well. So hope you enjoy those copies of Lost Legacy, and big thanks to Alderac Entertainment for supplying me with so many extra copies to give away on the show. And I hear they might be mailing you and Dills a copy, Jocelyn.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm really excited.
Through the grapevine that
hopefully we'll be able to play at BlizzCon then.
Yeah, some fine folks over there are fans of the show, and they're like, "You didn't give one to Dills and Jocelyn?" I'm like, "What? I wanted to give as many as I could to the fans." So they're going to rectify that.
Busted.
Oh, come on. I was trying to do a good thing. Anyways, so congrats to all of you, and let's get into it, Jocelyn. This week's news for Hearthstone.
Good news, everyone!
So the Hearthstone World Championship for the Americas, the qualifiers, have been going on for the past 2 days. Many games of Hearthstone have been played to figure out which 4 contestants will be moving on to BlizzCon. We finally know who they are. It wrapped up very shortly before we did the show tonight, as a matter of fact. And you're going to be having to fill in some of the gaps for me, Jocelyn, because I only saw the first 2 to move on, which was Firebat and StrifeCro. I did not
Which is so good because I didn't get to see those because I was working, so I only caught the last 2 matches.
Perfect. So. Well, it's almost like we planned it.
Almost.
But I guarantee you we did not. Because someone out there's going to be like, oh, you didn't plan that, and really call us out on that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's really funny, though, that, I mean, the people that, and we should probably say spoilers if you haven't watched or you haven't been on Twitter or whatever, but the top 2 in Group B and the top 2 in Group C are the ones that moved on, which was really cool. Like, no one from A or D went on to BlizzCon, so I was kind of like, oh, those groups must have been really tough to play in.
Yeah. I mean, they all had notable players, every single group.
Well, yes, that's true, yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, I'm looking at all 4 groups, and I'm not sure there's one that I would call
that
the
you
group
would want to play in.
No, I would call the group of death. Anytime like new brackets came out back when I was following StarCraft closely, I was like, well, which one's the group of death? Clearly it is Group F, like, without a shadow of a doubt, you know. But this one, it's pretty well mixed. I feel like you had a good spread of players across all the groups. So there were some phenomenal games, lots of good highlights. If you don't like Zulok, though, you probably aren't going to enjoy a lot of what happened. Because, my God, there was Zulok all over the place in this tournament.
Yeah, and I kind of found that an interesting contrast between the Americas qualifiers and the EU qualifiers. Right. Because Zoo was everywhere here, but not at all in EU. And I felt like there was a lot more variety in the EU decks and a lot more like substitutions and plays that I hadn't really seen before. And I think that although I'm not knocking the American players at all, or the Americas players, but I think they're going to have their work cut out for them when they go up against the EU and then the Korean Chinese players. I think it's going to be really tough for them.
Yeah. And real quick, try restarting your webcam because it has frozen on a most excellent facial expression.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Kick it off for like 5 seconds, then kick it back on. I'm sure the chat room will yell at me for ruining such a lovely, lovely image. But
which is so funny because my internet is like super duper awesome internet now.
Yeah, I know. You can never, cut out the fact that Skype just likes to mess with you.
Well, that's true.
Don't underestimate Skype's ability to just screw up for no reason whatsoever. But yeah, it was still really interesting to watch, and we still saw some really abnormal decks, specifically with rogues. There were a lot of bizarre rogue decks that weren't really going with the meta. We also saw a couple hunter decks, which was great to see after the nerf because everyone was just like, oh, Hunter's dead, Hunter's gone, and it's clearly not the case. But yeah, there's just so much Zulok, whereas with the EU qualifiers at DreamHack, we didn't really see any. If we saw Warlock, it was a lot of handlock.
True, yeah. Which there was handlock in this tournament too. We shouldn't say that there wasn't, but
it wasn't as prominent and not as successful, I guess.
Right.
Like I was stunned by how well Zulok worked out, and I'm aware it's the reason it's so popular on ranked. It's also popular because it's cheap to make, but like it just paid off for just about everyone who decided to run one.
I feel like that's probably because handlock has been so prevalent at the high levels that they're probably like, well, if it's warlock, it's going to be handlock, and I have the answer to that. And then all of a sudden it's like, Zoo!
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Firebat, who was the first player to move on, he knocked out Hyped with a Zulok. And while Firebat did well in Group B, Hyped came out in first in Group A. He only dropped 2 games totally. It didn't even come close to going down, and Firebat, while he did move on from Group B, and obviously that's to be commended, he came in second to StrifeCro. So, yeah, it was good to see all of this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to bring up, a lot of good highlights. Firebat got a King Crush off a web spinner,
and it was so cool.
And it was pointless because Death Star, who he was playing against, was playing Zulok, and that game wasn't going to go to turn 9.
Doesn't matter though. The point is he got it. It does happen.
Right. D2's Hunter deck had a Captain Greenskin in it, which also he lost that game, but still it was blowing my mind. But really, for me, if I had to walk away from all of the games I watched these past few days, if say you out there in listener land missed a lot of this, and you're asking, well, I don't have a lot of time, Garrett. What do I go back and watch? If I have time for one series, and that's it, what do I watch from the America's World Championship qualifier? And I would I obviously haven't seen the last two finals games, but I think a strong case can be made for StrifeCro versus Stunner. Their games, whoever won that was going to move on to BlizzCon. Those games were absolutely stellar.
Yeah, that's true. I did catch the very end. I feel like I caught like the last match.
If you caught the last match, I think you caught the highlight. It was the Priest versus Priest mirror match.
Yeah. I did catch a little bit of that. I didn't see the whole thing. Yeah. So that was just about when I turned it on and was starting to watch. So
yeah. So and if you haven't seen it, don't let me mentioning what's awesome about it deter you, because it's still great to watch. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some of the other awesome bits from it. But the final game, for example, it was a mirror match between StrifeCro and Stunner. And at one point, Stunner looked like he had it in the bag. He was sitting at 30 health while StrifeCro was sitting on 6 health. And in a few turns, StrifeCro turned it around, and it was 16-16 health. They were tied, and StrifeCro now had card advantage. It was such a crazy game.
Mm-hmm. I think, the third matchup was really good as well, but not quite for the same reasons. Like it was, I think, ended up going 3-0 in favor of D2. But what I found really interesting was Dear Jason, he's only 15.
Yeah.
Like, so little.
What have we been doing with our lives?
I know, right?
Why didn't our parents tell us that we could play video games for money?
Yeah, for the chance at, what is it, $100,000 is the top prize? Like,
yeah. What was I doing? I was being a snot-nosed little freshman in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
So I thought that was really cool because, I mean, like, it takes such guts to get up in front of, like, huge streams and huge groups of people like that. And there must have been so much pressure on him. And I wanted to see him do well. But, yeah, in the end, I think he did go down, I think, 3-0, I think. So that was a little bit...
Yeah, it was.
I felt a little bad for him.
it was a 3-0 win for D2 with his Druid. Yeah. I've got the brackets open over on Liquipedia. That's a shame. Yeah, I remember I was on Hearth Center, Ghost 2 Gamers Hearthstone podcast, and Callum was talking about just how obscenely young Dear Jason is.
I know.
Oh,
man. But the fourth matchup though with Tides of Time, and is it Tari?
I'm not 100% sure. I remember the casters even having this discussion and then coming to an agreement on how it's pronounced, and I don't remember how it's pronounced.
I don't remember how it's pronounced either. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to remember this for the show tonight. And then I was just like, oh,
I've just been calling him Tarai. I don't think it's correct, but we'll go with that for now.
That guy and Tides of Time was a really good matchup too. Tides of Time was up 2-1, and then Terry, whatever, came back and won it. And it was really, really good matches. And, they were kind of going 1-for-1 and switching up decks. And, it was good. But, I mean, obviously you didn't watch it, so you missed the interview afterwards. And so basically what happened was, I believe her name is Rachel. She was like the host of the event. And she talked to all the winners afterwards and asked them a bunch of questions.
She's been doing hosting / interviews for DreamHack for a while now, and she's very good at it.
She was doing the interview, and one of the questions she asked was basically, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something along the lines of how did it feel going up against Tides of Time, who was the favorite, and then winning? And he said, we always crush Tides in the ladder, me and my teammates, so it felt pretty normal. Most guys on the ladder are bad, so I expected to be at BlizzCon.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Whoa.
I love that kind of crap. You see that kind of stuff in StarCraft a lot.
It was just so ridiculous. I was just like, what? Because, and I think why it hit me was because every single other interview that I've seen, with I think maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, have just been like super duper awkward people who clearly don't actually speak in public very often.
Right. It's been, especially in this tournament, because we've had a lot of people who just come in directly from ladder.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
They're not on pro teams. They're not doing interviews all the time. They're not used to sitting in front of a camera.
Exactly. So then for this guy to just sit down and just be like, oh, yeah, I always win. I knew I was going to BlizzCon. I was like, whoa, where did that come from?
Now, clearly not the type of personality that I carry with me, but I love that kind of stuff in like competitive events. It's fun to hear that kind of trash talk.
I wonder if we're going to see any more of it, like kind of as Hearthstone grows as an esport and as we have more of these big tournaments and get to know all the different players and, you know, all that kind of stuff. I wonder if we're actually going to start seeing a lot of this kind of trash talky attitude.
Yeah, we need more e-cops. We need more e-cops in the world because they bring a lot of entertainment to competitive gaming. So, yeah. It's been some great Hearthstone. I'm glad that was the drama. I thought, like, you told me going before the show off stream, you're like, oh, there was some stuff. I'm just like, oh no, what happened? Like, I thought it was really serious. I'm like, oh, a little trash, like competitive trash talk. That's fine. No one.
I know, but I like to get you all riled up. It's fun.
I know that is great though. I'm glad to hear that. I'm gonna go out of my way to make sure and rewatch that series and listen to the interview. So. If you're looking for more info on the qualifiers that happened in the past 2 days, Liquid Hearth, it's got a great day one recap up over at liquidhearth.com. We've got links to it in the show notes over at amove.tv/TAC. Check out the brackets on Liquipedia. And of course, I'm sure the VODs will be available on Twitch for some time, and I'm sure they'll get them up on the official Hearthstone YouTube, I hope, very quickly. So, in other news, significantly less exciting, but I guess it depends. I, for one, think Halloween might be the greatest holiday that exists. So I'm really excited for the new card back that we're getting at the end of October.
I really, really love this card back too. It is so cool looking. And I really, really hope that we get more of these. And that was actually, I wanted to just throw in a quick nod to Jeff P, who sent in an email. It's like bonus email tonight. And he was asking just if we thought that we were going to get card backs for all holidays and events. So I don't know. I think that would be really cool. But what do you think? Do you think we're going to see a lot of like WoW themed card backs for, December?
I think we'll definitely get like some type of Christmas one? Like, winter type back for around then, because the Christmas event in WoW is a big deal.
It is. That's true. It's huge.
I still have my first snowball in my bank from
Has it melted yet?
My first Christmas in WoW. I will never get rid of that snowball. I can buy a bazillion of them every year. It does not matter, but I know that was the first snowball from my first Christmas in WoW. And it's a big deal for a Florida boy, okay? It doesn't snow here.
Oh, I guess that's true.
I have never seen snow. I saw frozen, muddy rain in the Appalachians once and built a slightly off, like brown-white snowman and put a gator's hat on it, and there's a picture of this really sad creation somewhere.
But, man, you should come visit.
Yeah.
When we have like 4 feet of snow on the ground, just be like, what the hell is this?
As long as you don't make me shovel it, as long as I can just go frolic in it, I'm down. But
you can frolic.
Growing up with a father who grew up in New Jersey, I've only ever heard what sucks about snow. I've never heard a nice recanting of the beauty and magic of winter.
Oh, it's so pretty, and you can make a fort, and it might even get high enough that you can just jump off my balcony right into the snow.
And it'll be the one time that there's a jagged rock facing the wrong way, and it goes right through my heart. And then I haunt you for the rest of time, Jocelyn. Congratulations.
Oh, that would suck.
You now have a wisp. You can cast me for free.
Oh, that might be helpful.
Yeah.
It is a free 1/1.
It is a free 1/1 and a terrible card.
But yeah, no, I really like this card back. I think it's probably my favorite out of all of them so far. Except for possibly the one that I'll never be able to get. The Dalaran one is pretty cool.
The Tespa. Mm-hmm. Tespa one. Go enroll in like a community college or something. Like take one class and join and start a Hearthstone league, and you'll be good. You'll be fine. I'm sure we can figure it out.
It'll totally be fine.
I think Ice Crown is still my favorite because of my fanboyism, but this is great. This is
but from a design perspective, come on, Mr. Designer.
Oh, I think this is great.
Which one's your favorite?
Still the Ice Crown one.
Oh.
Still the Ice Crown. But this one's still really good. And the pumpkin itself's got a real Nightmare Before Christmassy vibe to it.
Oh, it does.
So
I was trying to put my finger on it, but that's totally what it is.
The stained glass around it, not so much. But that's very Warcrafty. So whatever. I'll let it slide. Yeah. Mr. Artsy. You Everyone should go listen to A Move Radio that I just recorded, because like Ben and I nitpicked the hell out of Star Wars Rebels, the new animated series, in a good way.
I just caught the tail end of that.
In a good way. We loved it. It's really good. Everyone should go watch it. And I'm done talking about Star Wars now. Also this week in little news, and also further proof that Ben Bro does not lie when he comes on our show, the Nax Ramus board is now in rotation in ranked play.
I got it the other night and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was playing for a second.
I feel like the three of us didn't need to see it in game though, because Twitter blew up mentioning at TAC Podcast, like, oh my God, Nax Ramus board is in rotation. Am I losing my mind? It's like, no, they said they were going to do it.
Yeah. I think
but
for
awesome.
me at least, I was just like, wait a minute. I swore I clicked rank. Did I actually accidentally go into Nax? I'm like, that would have taken more clicks. I was like, oh, wait, no, right. That board is here now.
Yes.
It was really, really late. Really late.
No, I'm glad it's in there. I like the additional background. Mm-hmm. I want a nice crown one so bad. I want the frozen throne chilling in one corner. I want to click on Arthas and make his eyes glow.
Do you have some sort of like inside info or something?
No,
do you know what the Ice Crown board looks like?
In my head, I'm like, one corner's got to be the frozen throne. I think another corner should just be like a frozen lake. It looks like just frozen ice. And if you click on it enough times, Sindragosa just explodes out of it. It'd be great. And then you'll hear like old man Menethil just saying, "Stir the hearts of your people." It'll be wonderful. I'm a nerd when it comes to Arthas
You are
lore,
such
man.
a nerd. It's awesome.
I love me some Arthas lore, and I still haven't read the book.
The book's, well, it's Christy Golden, so it's very good. I'm not a huge fan of just Arthas in general. I like him as a villain, but it was very much like a lot of whiny teenager, and I was like, okay, I get it.
That's cool. You can be wrong, and I respect that.
It's not that I didn't like the book, because Christy does a really good job. I was reading it and I was kind of like, okay, can we just move past now? And there were so many times where I was like, you're making a bad decision. This is so bad. Anyone with half a brain would not make this decision.
It's the issue with the big bads. They did the same thing with Darth Vader. It's like, I didn't really need to see him during puberty. Like, let's face it, it's awkward.
Exactly.
Every guy is a whiny little jerk at one point in his adolescent life. So some of them stay whiny little jerks like me. So there's that. Anyways, go enjoy the Nax Ramus board in your rotation, everyone. Let's talk some strategies. Jocelyn?
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay.
It is time to learn, not time to pay. Get it right.
I'm excited to learn. Teach me all the things.
So this past weekend, I played in my first ever Grand Prix for Magic the Gathering. Please don't turn off the podcast. All right, you still with me? Cool.
Absolutely.
Very
I thought
cool.
about dropping out, but then I was like, I'll see where this is going.
Again, talking to the listeners, not necessarily directly to you, Joss.
But it's much more fun when you talk to me.
I do like the thought that you've been showing up for 48 weeks thinking we just record into a void.
That was pretty much the idea.
We meet every week, we talk Hearthstone. I thought that's all there was to it. There's people who listen to this? What's wrong with these people?
There has been a lot of Magic talk in these past few weeks. It's because Dills and I started playing as well, and then Garrett had his big tournament. So bear with us, because there's still card games. There's a lot to learn.
A new set came out, really, I think is the big thing. So we got Concept Arc here. It's awesome, by the way. Of the sets I've been around to play, I think it is the best one by far.
Hooray.
So there's that. So this is my first time really ever doing anything competition-wise to this level or this degree, because I've surprised to everyone, I was not very much into sports growing up. I didn't play.
That's really funny. I was way into competitive sports.
I'm aware of that. We've had this discussion. How you were kind of a late blooming nerd, apparently.
Yes. Well, no, I was just a closet nerd.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Gotcha.
I didn't tell anybody.
Before we get into it, I feel like the whole, that stereotype that like, well, the nerds don't get along with anyone else and the jocks aren't into nerdy things. I feel like that's all bullshit. Like my drummer in my band in high school was also like a linebacker on the high school football team, and we couldn't have been better friends. Like, and on weekends we play Halo, and like, he was into nerdy shit and sports shit, and we both listened to the same music. It doesn't matter. I had friends who played football. I had friends who played baseball. I had friends who were incredibly socially inept and crazy and just into weird crap. And I fell somewhere in between, like all of that minus sports, to just stayed away from it entirely. So I don't understand that whole to go on a mini tirade that has nothing to do with Hearthstone.
That's okay. I'll just let you go.
Yeah. But Dills isn't here to illustrate my point, but I feel like our show is a good example of that, because Dills is a good example of that, for crying out loud. He loves baseball. He loves playing golf, but he's insanely into video games and also a big music nut. So just like what you like, folks. Don't build don't paint yourself into
including Magic.
Exactly, like Magic. So this was honestly the most like grandiose competitive thing I've ever done this past weekend. I got up at the crack of freaking dawn. It was still pitch black outside. The crack of dawn.
You're getting the full sport experience then.
Yeah. I watched the sun come up on I-75 as I'm heading towards Orlando with Ben in tow, who somehow I got stuck driving, which normally I don't have an issue with, but that hour I would have been very happy to let someone else drive. So I played Magic competitively from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m.
That's a really long day.
With
a lot of math.
Pretty much nonstop. Yeah. Oh man, I did so much finger counting in plain view of many other people. But you know what? It's okay.
I was gonna say, does anybody make fun of you for that if you sit there and like use your fingers and stuff?
I had one opponent who was clearly very irritated at the time it would take me to do a turn. But screw him.
Well, yeah.
No one's gonna tell me how long I should take.
In the tournament, I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the games that I watched, and he was actually like pointing at the screen and like clearly like counting out moves and damage and stuff. And the casters like didn't really make fun of him, but they went, "Oh look, yeah, he's counting the blah, whatever."
I feel like I see that a lot in Hearthstone, and it's, I don't know, it's fine with any type of game like this where there is a lot of math. I feel like that's a normal thing.
I think it was more he can't do it in his head. No.
But basically, the later the day got, the more I noticed other people doing this.
Oh, okay.
So
well,
the more come hour 5, more people are counting on their fingers and doing hand signals in the air, and looking up to the ceiling as they think about something. So there's a lot of that going on. So I feel like I learned a lot of lessons. It was, if you're into Magic, this was a limited Grand Prix. So day 1 was a sealed event. So I got 6 packs.
Okay, so what does that mean?
In sealed Magic, you generally get 6 packs, and a pack of cards in Magic is 15 cards. There's also specific rarities you'll always get, and sometimes you get a few more, but that's not important for for our purposes here of taking what I learned in a Magic thing and transposing it to what you can actually use in Hearthstone competition.
I'm just trying to make sure that I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. This is what we compare Arena, what Dills and I compare Arena to the most.
Okay.
Is sealed. There's Draft, which is also limited Magic. Limited is basically anytime you show up and you don't have any cards, and then you open packs of cards and you build a deck. That's limited.
I see. Okay.
So that's why Arena is very similar, because you see 3 cards, you have to pick one and start building a deck, and do that 29 more times until you have a deck in Arena. So it's very analogous. So in this sense, I got 6 packs of 15 cards, and I had to build a 40 card deck. Now, it's again probably getting more detailed than I need to, but it's basically 22 actual cards, and then the rest are all lands, which are the mana base from which you can actually do anything. So 22-18 is the split for this specific. Usually you go 23-17. Again, I'm getting too technical.
Yeah, you're getting way too technical. Bring it back.
Yeah,
bring it back.
Bringing it back. So I really like this because I don't have a ton of money, and constructed Magic can be mega expensive.
Right, because basically constructed Magic is the same as constructed Hearthstone, where you have to basically have all the cards. To
Yeah, but I can't take my Magic card, throw it in a shredder, and then use those shreds to construct a new Magic card of better quality. There's no, I can do that with money. I have to take actual money, give it to someone, and they give me their better card.
Right.
So there is that. But so I really enjoy this because I feel like I know. I feel like I have a good grasp on myself as a Magic player to a point, and I know that I do not play perfect Magic. When it comes to Hearthstone, I feel like, for the most part, I very rarely make very obvious mistakes. When it comes to Magic, I feel like I make obvious mistakes from time to time, because I don't play it as much as I play Hearthstone.
Right.
But I really enjoy Seal because I do feel like the thing I'm really good at in Magic, I feel like I have a really good grasp on deck building. So I like that I get to build a deck and then go and swing my battle axe at some noobs. So
that's good, because that's the area that I always struggle in, both, Magic and Hearthstone, is deck building. I find that which is why I love playing random decks so much, because if I just have a bunch of cards and I have to basically solve a puzzle, which is like, what's the best turn I can possibly play right now, then I do really, really well. But if I have to know like what the best card would be, and like, oh, I just went up against these 3 kind of decks, and so that means I need to make a substitution or something, those are the kind of things that I'm not as good at. But the problem solving and puzzles and stuff, actually in the moment, that's the part that I like.
Yeah, and honestly, I had the same as far as substitutions and knowing what to take in and put back in. That was always something I kind of struggled with as well, and I feel like after 12 straight hours of playing this damn game, I feel like I've got a better idea on it. And obviously, with limited, you have less to choose from, so the decisions are a little easier to make, or at least it can seem that way. It can also seem kind of hard if you don't have any clear choices. It's like, this is happening. I really need this specific type of card to do, and I don't. Well, from what I do have access to, what kind of fills that role? And that works in Hearthstone, because we get that question all the time from people who don't have a lot of legendaries and wondering what the hell to slot into the net deck that they pulled off, Hearthhead.
Mm-hmm. And I find that when it comes to slotting in cards, like if you have to make more than 1 or 2 substitutions, you've probably just got the wrong deck.
To a point. I mean, I run into that trap too, because I do have a lot of cards. So when I do want to make a change to a deck, I'm always second guessing myself in Hearthstone, because I feel like the meta is so established. I'm like, who am I to say that
make a substitution?
That taking this out and putting it in makes this shaman deck better than Green Sheep's? How dare I? Where do I get off? But sometimes you wins. Sometimes you just have to trust yourself. Take that damn card out, put the card you think that's better in, and go for it. But overall, there were some points I wanted to bring up. Going in, almost right away, I realized that endurance was going to play a role in this tournament. And obviously, your day-to-day Hearthstone playing, that's not going to be an issue unless you're really pushing for Legend. But if you're getting in these weekend tournaments, it's going to be. Especially if you're doing well and you're going to be playing many, many games. And that leads directly into really the first thing I want to talk about, which is just kind of the competitive state of mind. And I already mentioned a bit, about one of my opponents had clearly played far more Magic than I had ever even conceived of playing. Because I didn't see anyone else this day play as fast as this guy did. And this was actually my last game. This was the game that knocked me out of the tournament. If you had done well and if you had kept playing, how long were you looking at in terms of game time? Like another day? Like another 12-hour day? Would have probably had 1 more hour that day. And had I done better, I would have made it to day 2 and had another really, really long day.
Jeez.
By the way, if anyone's wondering how I did, I did much better than I thought I was going to. It was kind of like a Swiss format. There were 9 rounds, and you could play all 9 rounds, even if you lost every single one of them. But if you had 3 losses, it was like 99% sure you had no chance of getting to day 2. So basically, what you were looking for was a 7-2 record. So I ended up with a 5-3 before I dropped out.
That's not bad.
And there was over 2,000 people there, so rough estimations, I'm pretty sure I did better than 1,000 other people's, and that makes me feel pretty good. But anywho, back to the competitive state of mind. You know, obviously, it's not nearly as much of a 1-to-1 in Hearthstone. You're not going to have your opponent can only rush you so much. Turns are limited by time, and even if they are playing super fast, if they're doing a bunch of things, the animations in Hearthstone still slow it down to a certain point. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be taking your time. Like, don't make snap judgments. Like, and this is, I'm obviously talking about getting into Hearthstone a little more hardcore. If you're in a tournament or if you're seriously pushing for a legend, take your damn time. Think about what you're doing. Think about the next turn. Think about the turn after that. We talk about that a lot with Shaman, because with Overload, you have to think about your next turn.
Well, and we talked about it too with the EU Hearthstone tournament, where basically every single player on every single turn was getting the fuse, because they were sitting there, they were thinking, they were doing math, and
that's
you know, like,
one of the things I love about Hearthstone. You watch Pro Magic, and it's like, holy shit, what are they doing? Thank God there's casters. I don't know what's happening. But in Hearthstone, the guys really sit there and think it, for the most part, think it through. Obviously, you know, sometimes, I top deck the thing that makes me win. I'm just going to slam this and smile. But for the most part.
Which is a big contrast, I found. Very, very few of the Americas games actually had turns that went to the fuse. It seemed like they were just like, okay, well, this is my play. Boom, 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 done. Boom, 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 done. And like, I'm trying to think, and I'm sure chat room will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember anyone commenting that anyone missed lethal in the EU tournament, but there were multiple people that missed it today. And it just seemed like the Americas tournament was just so much more like fast, bang, bang, bang. Like, not that they weren't taking it seriously or anything like that, but it was so fast. And I was like, if you just kind of waited a second and, you know, probably would have actually figured that out, because they're all obviously fantastic players. So it was interesting to see that kind of comparison of just the mind state of the players.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point too. And I'm thinking back to EU one, and I do feel like I was seeing the fuse a lot. Well, I saw the fuse plenty of times today. But it was during very obvious tough decisions where even the casters were like, well, he could do this, he could do that, or he could do this other thing. All three of them are not delightful decisions, but he has to do something. And that you're always going to see a fuse in those situations. But you know, if you're in this tournament environment or you're pushing for legend, I don't know, this experience of being in the Grand Prix, it was such a mental exercise. So much beyond what I was expecting, I guess. Because obviously, you know, I had to take my time. I really didn't want to make snap judgments, and when I did, game one, I played much faster than I should have, and I lost my first round of the day. And afterwards, I walked away. I'm like, man, I made some serious misplays, and I knew what they were.
You were just excited.
I was tired and nervous, actually, was what it was. This hall was massive. This is where we have our Comic-Con locally. And they had just as much space for playing Magic. It was ridiculous. But so with that in mind, you know, say you're playing Hearthstone, and if you're playing in a local tournament or in an online weekend tournament like a King of the Hill or something, and you've got to play like a best of three against the same opponent, or even if you're just best of ones and still moving on to opponent after opponent after opponent. And if you obviously it's very good if you're identifying your mistakes and you're noticing what you're doing wrong and why you're losing games. But also don't let it bog you down. I went with my really good friend, Ben, who, if any of you listen to A-Move Radio, which is a very personal show that I do, where we talk about whatever the hell happens to be on our mind that week. If you listen to this week's episode, you'll hear me and Ben talking a lot about the Grand Prix. So if you want to hear very Magic-specific talk, check that out. But there were multiple points during the tournament where Ben and I, you know, our rounds would be done, we'd meet up and we'd talk about what had happened. And we're both just getting like really bogged down in our mistakes and letting it affect us. And you don't bring that into your next game. Clear it out. Realize that, you know,
leave it on the court, dude. Leave it on the court.
Yeah, there's no redos. And it doesn't matter. It happened, learn from it. Clear your head and go into your next best of three or whatever the format is with as clear of mind as you can. And that was one of the things I noticed happening to me. The longer it went, even though I was getting more tired, the more I let shit go. And I noticed that even in the game where I received my third loss, and I realized that I had no chance of making the day 2. I left that game probably the most satisfied I had all day, because my opponent was playing super fast. I still took a game off of him, and he had one of the best cards in the entire set. In limited, he pulled a freaking planeswalker that turned into a 4/4 legendary indestructible dragon with flying. And made me want to murder somebody. I still took a game off this guy that's clearly played 10,000 times more Magic than I ever had, and I made no obvious mistakes. I walked away from that loss, thinking to myself, I would not play that any different given my draws and given what I had to work with, and I felt really good about it. And it was weird. I had never in my life felt good about a loss. And I really did that time. So just, I don't know, work on that mindset. If you can identify your issues, figure out why you lost, but then just put it to the side and go into the next game as if it's the first damn game of the tournament. It's going to help you a lot. So I wish I was better at it in hour 1 and 2 of this Grand Prix. So
it can be really, really tough when you feel like you're there, you're ready to perform, you're there to compete. It can be really hard to put it all out there, try your best, and lose, and know that you were responsible for that loss. But it's just the kind of thing that you really do have to almost shut your brain off. Like, forget it happened. Like, pretend somebody smacked you really hard in the back of the head or something and you've got amnesia. Like, seriously, you have to walk away from it and not let it affect you going forward, because the competition is never just one match. It's like when you play a team sport, it's never one person's fault. It's not your goalie, it's not your setter, it's whatever. It's everybody, because everyone has a role to play, and every single game has a role to play in your overall competition. So you can't bring it forward. You just have to let it go. Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing that also helped with that loss was as I was getting up, I looked at the guy playing next to me, and his playmat was one that you got from getting top 8 in a Pro Tour, which is by invitation only. I'm like, holy shit, I made it to the same table as some dude who made top 8 in a Pro Tour. Hell yeah! So I'm like, I lost, but whatever, man. There's clearly people who played way more than me that also didn't make it the day 2, so that helped a little bit. Ben did insane, by the way. Kudos to Ben.
Yeah, how did he do?
We both went into this thinking like, oh man, we're gonna just go like 0-3 and want to go home, like, because there were a bunch of pro players there this weekend. We just thought we were gonna get our ass kicked, but he kicked the day off by going 4-0.
Wow.
And he 2-0'd, I think, all but one of those 4 wins. Then he lost the game, so he was 4-1. Then he won the next one, so he was 5-1. Then he lost the next one, so he was 5-2. And I'm like, Ben, dude, you can do. All you have to do is win the next 3, and you're in day 2. That's insane.
All you have to do.
Well, he was playing really well. I believed in him, and he didn't get knocked out until round 8. He had one more round to go. Like, he didn't get his third loss until round 8, and we're pushing like 9 o'clock at that point, and it was a long day. At that point, I was like, I know I'm not getting in day 2, so I'm going to drop out of the Grand Prix and go play a draft. But he was still in it, and I was checking in with him at every chance I could get, and I was so proud of my boy. So proud of him. He did so freaking well.
Amen.
Yeah. But one more point I want to bring up before we close out this talk is knowing when to change up your play style, and I don't mean swap decks. I mean, in Hearthstone, watching a pro play a certain type of deck, and then going and finding that deck list, and then playing it the way you see as the quote unquote correct way. I feel like is a mental kind of road that we all go down very easily. It's really easy to get stuck in that train of thinking that, well, there's a right way to play this deck. And if I don't get the opening draw I need, I just can't win. Or if I play it this way, and if something messes that up, it doesn't work. And being more flexible is a learned skill. And over the course of this weekend, I was playing a control deck. It was a pretty hard control deck. I had a lot of removal. I had a lot of guys that grew steadily over the course of the game and became big bodies. So I wasn't all that concerned with like my life total or my opponents, because I knew at some point I was just going to outlast them. And those who actually have been playing Concept Tarkir will realize that I just made a pun about one of the mechanics in the new set.
Oh, okay.
It's called it's called
so
Outlast. Witty. Oh, I just caught my own pun, and it felt I had to explain it because I realized there's only one other person on the show, and they don't play a lot of Magic. Anyways, does not matter. I noticed that there were a lot of points where I noticed suddenly I'm the beatdown deck. Like, just the way the game had developed against my opponent, it's like I now have to seize control. I have to become aggressive, even though this deck is made to go long and to survive large attacks. That the game is developed in such a way that I need to go on the aggressive, regardless of what I built my deck and what my preconceptions of what this deck is capable of is. And knowing when to kind of flip that switch in the middle of a game, holy crap, it makes such a difference.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's something I've never really thought about before. Like, I know Dills has done it quite often when I've been streaming with him, where, you know, if he doesn't get the cards that he wants on turn 1 or 2, he's just like, oh, well, I've already lost. And I'm like, no, you have to play it all the way through to the end. But I've never really like thought about, if I'm playing Control Warrior, then all of a sudden switching to aggro and, you know, like being like, okay, now I have to just go to the face, you know?
Right.
So that's a really interesting strategy, actually, that you could definitely apply to Hearthstone.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. You can be playing an aggro deck and all of a sudden realize I have to play this control because it's literally impossible for me to go to the face for the next few turns and win this game.
And survive, yeah.
Yeah, and being able to identify that, flip that switch and do it correctly, that is such a huge skill, and it's not easy to learn. It takes, you just play a crap ton of games, and I felt like I was learning all these things very quickly because I logged so many games in one day. I by no means think I'm an expert at it. I'm still going to be sitting playing a game of Hearthstone or Magic and be like, I'm not sure if I should go on the offensive now or not, but I definitely, I don't know. It's like Scott Pilgrim reference. I feel like I learned something. I had the moment many times over the course of the Grand Prix weekend. So
that's very cool, and I'm glad that you did so well.
Thanks. I hope this random amalgamation of thoughts in competitive card playing has helped somebody out there.
Well, and I think that's the thing. We had a whole bunch of people in the chat that were like, Magic talk. It's like, no, we're talking competitive card games. It doesn't matter that it was in a Magic tournament, because all of these things apply to playing Hearthstone in tournaments, in arena, in ladder. Doesn't matter. Anytime you're going PvP against somebody else in a card game, all of this stuff applies. It's so mental. Yeah, exactly. And one quick mention, I beat one of my opponents so bad, he got up and said, man, I'm just going to go play Hearthstone. Really?
I'm not even kidding. He got up and just said, screw this, I'm going to go play Hearthstone. I was just like, yes. It was nice. It felt good. But yeah, no, I texted you earlier today. I was like, do you think this would be an appropriate topic to bring up? And you're like, hell yeah, let's do this. I want everyone to know. I actually sat here for a really long time trying to shave down what I wanted to talk about and make sure it was as little, like, not as non-specific to Magic as possible. So
you did a very good job.
I hope you all enjoyed it. Anyways, thanks for listening, and let's take some crazy game stories.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
Send your crazy game stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com. But don't send too many of them because we're still drowning in the darn things. This week's first crazy game story comes to us from Sonix. Thank you for the phonetic pronunciation of your bizarrely spelt handle, sir or madam. Sonix writes, hey, TAC peoples. So yesterday I was in the arena playing against a priest against a rogue. Oh, sorry, playing a priest against a rogue. I was about to make fun of them for their writing, and
their poor writing skills.
I realized it was my poor reading skills. I was at 5 life and staring down 3 minions when I have an empty board, and he has more than enough to end the game next turn. The only chance I had was to cast Mind Games and hope for something good. I get a Death Lord off of it, and I pause for a minute to see what I can do with it. I cast Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, and I now have a 32/32 taunting Death Lord with my opponent still at 22 life. My opponent draws his card, and I swear I could hear him slamming his head on his keyboard as he concedes. I had some friends watching me play this game, and all three of us were laughing hysterically after it happened. You are making me miss college life. I miss having friends gathered around my screen as something absurd happens.
That's so true. And I had to actually look up mind games because I was like, what? I don't remember this card being in anyone's deck ever. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is the arena one. That's why it was there. Because I was just like, who runs mind games?
Yeah, that's a giveaway, even though he said arena, that it was indeed arena. Yeah, I don't know about that. Obviously, oh man, that many Divine Spirits in any deck. I don't care if it's arena or not. You're a lucky person, Sonix. You were playing with fire, and luckily your opponent got burned. Oh, I would never put that many Divine Spirits in anything.
No.
Anything at all. But I'm glad it worked out for you. That's
a really crazy game story.
That's absurd. Jocelyn, you want to take the next one?
Sure. This one comes to us from John. He said, my opponent got 2 Thaddeus's out, but couldn't attack with them when they were summoned because it was first turn and, thankfully, wasn't a warrior deck, so they didn't have charge. I happened to have 2 big game hunters in my hand, which was quite satisfying.
Oh, that is delightful.
I was just like, do people normally run with 2? I thought everyone was just running with 1.
You don't run with a Thaddeus. You run with a...
No. I mean big game hunters.
Oh, no.
I mean, what are the chances that he had 2 big game hunters in his hand?
No, usually people run 1. John didn't specify.
Didn't specify.
I'm thinking, well, he could be playing priest and possibly pulled 2 of them out of the warriors deck. I don't know why a warrior would be running big game hunter, but who knows? Yeah, well, that's good because I've been on the receiving end of the 2 Thaddeus thing, and it sucks, and I just rage and
you rage never.
And I tweet at the Hearthstone developers and say that this is a bug, and then they tweet back like, no, this is very much working as intended. Congratulations on your loss. They didn't actually say that, at least not that last part, but
you know they were thinking it.
Mm-hmm. I deserved it.
Oh, you did.
I deserved it. I still don't think it should be possible for there to be 2 Thaddeus's because it goes against the lore, but that's just me being a sore loser. So there's that. Let's take some emails before we end today's show.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to the same place, tacpodcast@gmail.com. Our first one today comes to us from Dakota, who writes, hey guys and gal, the brief discussion about Arena this week got my gears turning. I have an idea that could be a fix for the imbalances that exist in Arena. As Dills mentioned, the problem is more or less defined by the card Flame Strike. It isn't that the card, it isn't the card that's the problem though. It's the frequency with which we see the card. Powerful cards are okay to have, too many powerful cards, less so. So what's the solution? Stop treating basic cards as a card rarity, writes Dakota. Dakota says, currently, cards unlocked through class levels are considered basic and do not have a rarity assigned to them. In the arena format, these basic cards are drafted alongside commons, so they effectively have a rarity of common. This is a problem when a powerful effect like Flame Strike is considered a basic. A powerful effect like Flame Strike is not a common power level card. It should not appear with the frequency of commons. In Arena, you see fewer rares than commons, fewer epics than rares, and etc. If basic cards were assigned a rarity but were still earned via leveling up and considered basic, it would allow the development team room to balance the limited format in spite of the choices they made creating the basic card pool for each class. It would also provide a solution without the need to alter the power level of individual cards, thus preserving constructed meta. It's incredibly well written.
I know. I cut it down a little bit, but I was just like, oh man, this is so good.
Before we even talk about this, kudos to Dakota. Because we read a lot of emails, and I respect a well-written one.
Mm-hmm. there was like punctuation and everything.
Oh, I know, man. Just beautiful. It's delicious. Anyways, this is all true. I don't know how much I agree with it, however. But
Oh, really? Because I read this and I went, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Of course, because we never agree on anything.
I know.
And it's
we agree on some things. Green Day.
Star Wars. I even believe that I agree with you at least more than Dills does on the subject of Ewoks. So,
Hooray!
there's that. But it would be such a boring show if it was me going, I think this, and you going, yes, and vice
That
versa.
is true.
So it's a good thing. I don't know. I mean, Flame Strike specifically, it's a 7-mana card. How
True.
often are you going to see more than one of these played?
In Arena?
Yeah,
Often.
Okay. I guess it's a good point. It goes longer.
I don't know. I think that this is a really good idea because there are some basic cards that are way more powerful than other basic cards and way, way more powerful than a lot of common cards. I think I found it a little bit confusing when I first started playing, having no rarity tied to those cards. I was just like, well, this doesn't really make sense. Everything else in the game has a rarity.
Right.
And I know that they do want to
They
like,
do have a rarity.
differentiate.
And it's common. It's just not
Well, yeah.
shown.
But I do know that they want to differentiate between the things that you earn leveling and the things that you craft or buy or whatever. But at the same time, I mean, you could just take them out of the crafting interface the same way that they have like the gold ETC. You can't craft that. So obviously it's a mechanic that they already have, is taking cards out of, availability to craft. So I think it could be done, and I think it's something that would make Arena a little bit more balanced. Although at the same time, part of the fun of Arena is that you can have 6 flame strikes. So I don't know. I think adding rarity to it and, changing Arena up a little bit is a good thing. But why do you think it's bad?
I don't necessarily think it's bad. I'm like running through my brain and trying to figure out how to parse this. I'm trying to think of it like from Team 5's perspective. And this is obviously completely pulled from my butt. I don't work for Blizzard. I have no insight onto Team 5.
You heard it first, straight from Garrett's butt.
Other than Youngwoo really likes gummy bears. Like that's as far as my insider information goes. And if you follow him on Twitter, you would know that too, and it would be your insider information. But
Rinky Dink in the chat room actually makes a really good point too, that Nax has rarity cards that are uncraftable.
Oh yeah, I wasn't disagreeing with that. That's a very good point, actually. Because Golden ETC was a great example, and obviously all of the Nax cards,
All the Nax cards, yeah.
with the exception of the golden ones, are uncraftable.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I would love to talk, obviously, to a member of Team 5 about this, but I feel like what I could possibly see being a point is that the basic cards, like, they feel are integral to that class functioning on a basic level. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not sure how to. I'm trying to think about it and put this into words that make a coherent thought. But do you kind of follow that statement at the very least?
I think I know what you're trying to get at.
I feel like Flame Strike is. I think they might have a point with Flame Strike. I think maybe Flame Strike should just be not a basic card and be rare. I don't think it should be epic, but maybe rare. Because when you look at all of there's a lot of things that are similar between all the classes, like Hex, Polymorph, Assassinate are all basic cards, and they are all essentially the closest thing to hard removal that exists in the game. Obviously, Assassinate is hard removal, but like then Lightning Storm for a Shaman, which is their board wipe, is a rare. But Flame Strike for a Mage is a common. And I think to a point there, you could make the argument that it's 7 freaking mana compared to 3 of Lightning Storm. But you also pointed out that, hey, it's Arena, buddy. Most of these games go long. So multiple
They really,
Flame
really
Strikes
do. I find like constructed games can go, 6, 7, 8 turns, but arena games, oh man, I'm going into 14,
10,
15 every time.
They go past 10 fairly consistently. Unless you just got a really, really lucky pool of cards to pull from. And it's like, oh, hey, I ended up with a constructed mage deck. Look, if I had access to all the cards in the game, this is the deck I would have built.
Yeah, Fireball and Fire Elemental are also being thrown out in the chat room as ones that really are way, way OP for a common rarity. So, you've got a Fireball, which is what, 4 mana for 6 damage?
Yes.
That's a little bit much.
Yeah.
Compared to other commons, it would be a little bit more balanced as a rare.
I want to take devil's advocate on this, but you're making too much sense.
I know, it's shocking.
but yeah, I mean, at some point, then I think it gets a little too cherry picky. Like I feel like we really sat here and thought about it. We could think of one card in every class that we think should be taken out of common, basic card rarity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it wouldn't really change anything because it's not like there's a limit on how many rares you can have and how many legendaries you can have in terms of like you can only have 3 legendaries in a constructed deck or something, so it wouldn't really change constructed at all. All you're doing is assigning a rarity that's going to impact arena. So still earning the cards in the same way, not nerfing or buffing anything, just saying, even though this is something you have to level up a class to earn, it's still going to, impact arena a lot if we leave it at common. So by making them appear a little bit less often in arena, then you can still kind of have that fun factor without being really imbalanced. But then again, I mean, it's arena, so maybe it shouldn't be balanced. Maybe it should just be fun. I don't know.
No, it should absolutely be balanced. No.
I'm trying to flip.
No, Jocelyn. No. You've done very well so far. Everything you have said has made so much sense that I have had a hard time.
You're not arguing against me, so I'm trying to help. Maybe
devil's advocate. I'm seriously trying. I think the only thing that makes any type of sense is the fact that I think maybe Team 5 does absolutely think that these are the backbones of the classes, and if they remove too many of them, it would cease to feel like a mage or cease to feel like a rogue.
But it's not really. Oh, I get.
If you took Fireball and Flame Strike away, that's.
But you're not taking it away. You're just saying that this is rare, so it's a little bit less of a chance that you're going to pull it, as opposed to having everything just be common and you can get a whole bunch of them all the time.
To a certain degree, I just feel like if you're just like, well, both Flame Strike and Fireball, I feel like if you both put those at rare and you're seeing a way like that would mean you would see an insanely less amount of them. That you're really limiting the mage, because now a mage is just going to be a bunch of neutral minions and some icy spells. and just I don't know. This has nothing to do with facts, statistics, or anything that actually helps me win this argument. It feels wrong, and I hate those kind of arguments. So I'm just going to stop there because I don't want to sound dumb anymore.
And I'm just going to answer Page Side's question from the chat room. He or she said that Blizzard's logic was that they wanted to give away the cards for free with the class and not make people pay for them. And I just want to be really clear, like, we're still talking about these being cards earned through leveling, not making them expert cards that come in packs. Like, still grind them up, get your levels, get your XP to get your cards, keep the sets the same, keep the powers the same, except for give them a rarity so that when you're drafting in arena, the more powerful cards like Flame Strike come up less often. Yeah,
and I think I 100% agree with that. And now I'm like kind of thinking it back to him, like, man, giving basic cards no rarity gem feels like to me an oversight. Especially if they ever want to add more basic cards. I don't know. I feel like it would be a limiting factor in designing them, because at the moment they are all common rarity as far as how they show up in arena. So you in theory couldn't make a class specific card or a class basic card that is too strong.
It almost feels like they maybe didn't take arena into consideration as much when designing the cards. I don't know, and that's probably a terrible thing for me to say, and I don't want to offend anybody who works in Team 5 at all. But
you guys are bad, and you should feel bad. That's not what we're saying. No.
I just mean that, it's very balanced in constructed because you have the freedom to pick whatever quality cards you want. But then in arena, where you're already limited by the choices that you have to then, I don't know, it feels like if they make a super powerful card, they're not taking arena drafts into consideration. That's all.
That's not that's not an insane argument.
And Rinky Dink in the chat room is also saying that it could help new players give rarities to basics to help understand power levels and different rarities as they're leveling their heroes up, which I think is a fantastic point as well.
Damn, chat room, you make sense. Stop making so much sense.
I'm sorry. I'll stop, I promise.
Yeah, just trying to come up with like counterpoints. But no, I mean, I think that is smart. I think it should have rarities. Because it plays.
Get on it, Blizz. That's our get on it, Blizz, for this episode.
And you're catching me at a bad time. I just played a lot of limited Magic, and rarity plays such a huge role. Oh my god! If you get like an extra rare in your pack because it was a foil, and you actually got a 16th card, and it's some type of bomb rare, you start dancing, and no one judges you because they would do the same thing. Just putting that out into the universe. Enjoy that. Anyways, spent a lot of time on Dakota's email. That was a good email. Good email, Dakota. I think in closing, yes, I agree with you. Give them rarity.
Nice
associations. Maybe don't just neuter mage entirely by taking everything just because people complain about it and making it rare. Maybe take a look at Flame Strike a little bit. Just consider it. Thanks. Who's our next email from, Jocelyn?
This one comes to us from Anthony, who says, "Hey there, mother cluckers. I have a question to pose in regards to buying packs from the store. The last week or so, I've been contemplating buying a 40 pack of cards since grinding for gold to get individual packs is slower than cold molasses going uphill during a Canadian winter," which I'm sure Jocelyn knows all too well.
Oh, that's pandering. And apparently it worked because she put it in the show.
It's a good email. Recently, there was a post stating that there would be a new set of cards released soon, TM. My question to you guys is sort of an opinion question. If you were in the same boat as me right now, would you hold off on buying 40 packs until the new cards come out, or go for it anyways? Love the show. Keep up the great work. And someone catch that damn chicken already. Cheers, Anthony, who's actually from Nova Scotia.
Oh, nice. Anthony, no one's ever going to catch a chicken. They never will.
No, never.
But I'd say just jump in. Buy some cards. Cards that are good now are still going to be good.
I think I would probably hold off until BlizzCon because I think we're going to get some more information around the cards that they're going to release. And I'm really interested to know, it was, I think, a listener email that was sent in, it was a long, long time ago now, like 6 or 8 months ago, talking about arcane dust and how it was interesting that they actually called it arcane dust, and talking about the equivalent in Warcraft and how there's all kinds of different dust now as more and more expansions have come out. So it would be really interesting to see if your dust is going to be good for the new cards that are coming out. And if it's not, then that would definitely factor into my decision if I was going to pour more money into it now or if I was going to wait for new cards.
Okay.
I would just want more information before dumping a ton of money, because obviously it's a big decision for him. It's not just like, well, yeah, I'll buy 40 packs this week, you know?
Oh, right. I mean, if you're going to be playing a lot, I don't see any reason not to just buy cards now.
Well, yeah, that's true. It also depends how fleshed out your collection is. Right,
because I mean, it kind of, in a way, I feel like an argument could be made for it. It's going to equal out. Either you spend money now and you get some cards, and then you save up gold and whatnot, and you free to play buy the new set, or you free to play now and you buy the new set. It kind of. Mm-hmm. In a very, that's the most binary way of looking at it.
I think too, you could just free to play it up until the new cards come out, and then use that kind of as a kickstart. You know, buy your 40 packs day one and get a head start on that new set.
I like that kind of idea as well. It's what I did with Hearthstone when it first came out. Bought 40. I didn't really buy any more cards for a long time. Eventually, I bought 40 more, and even further down the line, I bought 40 more. But we're not.
I don't even know how many times I bought 40 packs. I don't want to know. It's been more than I probably should have.
D-Day in the chat room is making the incredibly good suggestion of never looking at what you have spent on Blizzard games because he said, and I quote, "It makes me sick."
Oh, dude. Yeah. Every time I click buy in that pet store, it's just Makes me sad.
I've been playing World of Warcraft since vanilla. Do the math.
Sucker.
And I've changed servers at least 4 times.
Okay, I've never done that.
With multiple tunes, and many of those were also faction transfers.
Ooh.
Yeah, it gets real expensive.
Yeah, no, don't look.
I don't want to. I really don't want to. But you know what I can't put a price on? My happiness playing those games.
That is true.
Aww.
And I mean, I've said it before. I drop as much money on Hearthstone as I think is equivalent to AAA titles that I would play. So if I would buy, a AAA title every 2 or 3 months, if I know that there's something coming out, I'm like, well, I play Hearthstone more than almost anything with the exception now of Smite. And so if I'm playing Hearthstone this much, then I should be supporting Hearthstone an equal amount.
That's not, yeah, that's a good point. I also do very similar crap with Magic. New set comes out, I'll buy like 20 packs. Why not? Then I don't really touch it for a while. It's kind of accrue cards over the set. Actually, I buy a lot less packs now because I pretty much just play limited, but whatever. I used to do that. When Theros came out, I bought a whole box and I sat there and opened every single pack.
Oh, man.
It's delightful.
And I know that they're vanity pets, but they can battle now, and I really like pet battles because it's like Pokemon. So there you go, chat room. That's why I buy them.
Again, you and Katie are going to be good friends. Good friends. Our final email today comes to us from Micah, who writes, do you think they'll recycle the card backs in a year and do gold versions of the card back if you already have it or something? ? I sincerely doubt it, and I'll add, I really hope they don't do that.
I just found it was kind of an interesting concept with it having seasons that are tied to, the month. We're going to have 12 card backs a year, not counting things like, BlizzCon and any sort of special events. So do you think eventually they're going to run out of ideas or designs and have to recycle something or, maybe give players a second chance at a card back?
No.
So if you didn't play season 1, then you're just never getting the season 1 card back and that's the end of it? You don't think they'll ever be like craftable or anything?
I would like it if they made them available, but they made it. I want more incentive for fireside gatherings, and I want in-game incentives. Last week I talked about I would love a Hearthstone equivalent of like the stamp dated promo card that you get at Magic the Gathering tournaments. Hey, I got the foil and it's got the date of the thing I went to. I would love something very akin to that. I think another way to incentivize fireside gatherings is, once the game's been out for a year, start putting the old card backs up as, hey, if you participate in a fireside gathering between these months, that season 1 card back that you didn't start playing Hearthstone until 4 months in, go to your fireside gathering. If you get on a network with 3 other people, you can get that card back. That's a really cool idea. I wouldn't be against that. I would love to just see more. Like, we talked about last week. They're offering like swag packages for people doing fireside gatherings. I think that's great. This isn't me saying that I don't think they support it enough already, but I would love to see like, I don't know, a little more in-game stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But as for like just next year in January we'll be seeing the same card back that we saw in January this year. I really doubt it. I mean, there's such an insane wealth of
that's true.
Of
lore
stuff
and
in Warcraft. People have been saying about heroes in Heroes of the Storm. Like, are you insane? They have
that they won't have enough heroes.
Literally every IP they've ever done. First of all, Dota 2 exists, has over 100 heroes, and they were all ripped directly from only Warcraft 3. So I think they'll be fine. But no, there's so much stuff. I mean, you could get so granular. It could be, and this week it's the Hosen card back.
That's true.
Like, you throw a rock in Warcraft and you hit some type of incredibly niche, very specific, well thought out as far as concept and design are concerned, culture. There's so many races, there's so many zones, and you could just go nuts.
That's true. And I mean, we just had the pirate one, so that's like the Buccaneers. And I mean, there's the Dalaran one. You could start going at all the factions and doing faction specific ones. Plus you've got warlords coming out now, so all the orc clans are going to have different themes that you could make a card back out of. Yeah, I don't think they're going to run out of ideas.
We've had an Ice Crown one, but you could do a Frost Worm one that's all bony and sinuous. You could do a Lich King Arthas one. You could do a Paladin Arthas one. And all of those are incredibly different design aesthetics.
True.
They would all be instantly recognizable, and you would not be like, oh, it looks exactly the same as the Ice Crown one. It wouldn't. The Serenite armor of Lich King Arthas, for example, looks completely different.
You are going full on Arthas nerd tonight. I love it.
I'm going full on art nerd right now. Thank you very much. I'll have you know I started this example waterfall with Hosen. So, and I hate monkeys. So,
screw you, monkeys.
Splice Stream in the chat room says sinuous. I think Garrett's just making up words. Sinuous is a word.
It is.
Check it out. Look it up.
Is it sinuous or sinewy?
I believe it's sinuous, but feel free, English nerds, to write in and correct me. I actually really like to know when I'm saying things that aren't real words. I appreciate that type of feedback a lot. Just don't get jerky and snarky about it. I'm pretty sure it's sinuous. Pretty sure. No, it's the first thing I'm going to do after tonight's show. I'm going to go
look it up.
Pull a sinuous use in a blah blah blah. Anyways, yeah. I don't think we're going to get gold versions of the card backs. I don't think that's necessary. You would lose a lot of what makes them look cool if you goldified them.
That's true.
Now I'm
just
making
trying
up
to figure
words.
out like what that would look like. It'd just be like gold edging, maybe.
Yeah,
supposed to. But even then, that wouldn't look good on all of them.
And they're already animated, so it's not like
true.
you'll have a static version and then the golden version will be animated and cool looking. They're already animated and cool looking. I don't need gold edges on things, and there's already some that have gold elements in them. So I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. But very thought-provoking question there, Micah. Thanks for sending that in. So, anyways.
Yeah, we had really good emails this week.
Yeah. Again, just a quick golf clap for Dakota. I thoroughly enjoyed that email. Not to discredit everyone else, because clearly we've been talking a long time about these 3 emails, so you all did a very good job. Anyways, I think that'll do it for this week's episode. As always, I want to thank all of you who are supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. Again, congrats to those of you who won a copy of Lost Legacy. Thank you guys just so darn much. I can't believe how much you're supporting us. It's truly nuts. The beginning of every month, I'm just like, oh, I forgot about this. Oh, my God. This is wonderful. So this week, thank you very much, Dan B., Sean O., Anthony Kodiak E., Jennifer L., and this was one Patreon was Frog SF and Mecha Jeff. So thank you for your dual backing, I guess. Thank you guys very much. Yeah, thank you guys all so very, very much. Also, thanks to those of you who are leaving us reviews in the iTunes store. Thanks to Madigans, who said he found us searching for emotional poultry. He said he's just
that is amazing.
His whole review.
Why would you search for that?
Go read his whole review because it's clearly a joke. At least I hope so. But he role plays this simple farmer who raises chickens and was trying to find how to help his poultry state of mind or something. It's a great review. It's too long to read here, so go check it out. Thanks also to Abasaurus, Rob Stack, 5.0 Cobra Guy, and John Weldy. Anyone from Canada this week, Jocelyn?
Yeah, we have Davo DeVito from Canada this week. Thank you so much for your 5-star review.
Not Danny DeVito.
No,
Davo DeVito. He's in It's Always Sunny in Not Philadelphia. Check out that wonderful gem. The Angry Chicken is a production of amove.tv and the Frog Pants Studios. Go check out frogpants.com. Email us at tacpodcast@gmail.com. All of our past live shows and other videos can be found over at youtube.com/StarcastShow. Yes, it's named after an old StarCraft show I did. I can't change the URL. Sorry.
It's okay. It'll come back when Legacy's here.
Maybe. Get the Angry Chicken t-shirt over at slashloot.com. That's SLASH loot.com. Follow us on Twitter at TAC Podcast and catch us on the live show every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV or on the mobile stream right on your phone at alphageekradio.com. Also check out BrianGriffithMusic.com for Brian Griffith, the musician who made our wonderful intro music that I am still not even close to sick of.
I love that song so much.
You did a good job. Joss, where can folks find you when you're not doing the Angry Chicken?
They can find me right here on A Move TV every Friday night, which I hear you're totally hijacking my podcast night. What is that about?
I'm doing it during like the day. I'm not doing it at night.
All right.
I'm
You're lucky.
I get like a Friday off every other week, so I'm going to be doing a daytime podcast, which is I've always wanted to do them during the day so that my evenings are freed up.
Very, very cool. All I saw was, oh yeah, and we're going to start doing A Move Radio on Fridays, and I was like,
we haven't
fine.
decided on a time yet, but we're thinking like 3 p.m. Eastern.
Cool. So. Very, very cool. So yeah, still every Friday night at 8:30 Eastern, you can find me on the Gamers Inn. We also do Gamers Inn game night every Thursday night, and all our patrons get a chance to play multiplayer games with us and stream live, so that's fun. Other than that, I was streaming a little bit on Twitch. You can find me on Twitch at GIS Gamer, or follow me on Twitter, which is the best way to keep up with everything I'm doing, and that is GIS Gamer.
Awesome. Go check it out. Also, everyone, just give Jocelyn a big round of applause because she handled, once again, a massive spreadsheet for another giveaway on this show. Because I
figured out a good, fast way to do the Twitter stuff, so it's all right.
That's awesome. Because, like, I'm like, last week, I'm like, I'm going to give away some copies of Lost Legacy. And you're like, oh, I might have to do not that you were complaining, but you're like, I might have to do another spreadsheet. I'm like, I don't know. It's not directly Hearthstone related. I don't think we're going to get that many entries. Boy, was I wrong. Oh, wow. You guys really like free stuff. Mm-hmm. So, or you're just that excited for a new game from Alderac, which you should be because their other games are amazing. So enjoy that. Follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art. That's GARRETT. 2 R's, 2 T's, or you will not find me. Also, you can find me at nomoonart.com. That's my graphic design portfolio. You can also find a contact form there should you need to contract me for freelance. I'm always available to chat. If you've got a project you think you need a graphic designer for, drop me a line. You don't have to be 100% sure. I'm fine talking things out with folks. Also, check out Into the Nexus, my Heroes of the Storm podcast that I do with Mr. Kyle Ferguson from StarCast and A Move Radio. We'll be doing a show this week, hopefully, about the return of Heroes of the Storm, and hopefully not about how I made little Tychus and Vala figures out of clay, and I'm sitting there on my desk going, pew, pew, pow, pow.
Really?
I'm gonna get you, Jimmy.
Really?
No, that's ridiculous because I already have a pre-made miniature Tychus figure that I bought from BlizzCon. I was going to say. I only had to make the Vala figure. So... there you go.
Well, then that's much better.
Yeah, it is. Thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to our sponsors, DogHouseSystems.com, where you can use the code TAC to get double memory on your next Doghouse Systems gaming rig free of charge and directly support the Angry Chicken in the process. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next week for episode 49, and I believe the 1-year anniversary of Angry Chicken. I'm going to have to double check on that, but...
I believe so. Someone in the chat room said October 14th.
Oh, okay. Well, and then it's official. Next week will pretty much be the 1 year. So we're going to consider it the 1 year. And here's just a little heads up. You're going to want to watch the live video show.
Why?
Because we're going to do something silly. I'm not sure what yet.
Okay.
But something will be special.
Are we going to do that thing that we mentioned earlier? Because that would be so
if we
fun.
can, yeah. If you got something that you think works for our impromptu
I'll have to
planning.
take a look.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Something will be visually special about next week's episode. So make sure you tune in. Twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Follow the channel if you're not already. We'll see you guys then. Job's done.
Job's done.
3, 2, 1. Yes! Oh, you were supposed to say yes with me. And,
you confused me with the countdown. I'm like, what's he counting down to?
Nah.
Dills never counts down.
Well, like after the hangout last week, we both did a yes, and I thought it was cool because obviously, I can't fill Dill's shoes all by myself, and you can't fill them by yourself. So I figured maybe the two of us, with all powers combined, could become Dill's, and it didn't work. So
close though. Next time.
This is now the worst ending to the show ever.